over 2.5 fucking hours of justified greatness. That was spectacular. I want to give some context real quick for those who haven't watched my earlier MCU reviews. I feel like I should specify that I am absolutely not on the hype train with regards to this franchise. I could probably count on one hand the MCU movies I've liked and on even lesser fingers the ones I've loved out of this huge cinematic powerhouse. I do think they have something special with the format for sure. Obviously they have legions of fans for a reason, but my personal enjoyment often stretches as far as going to see them, thinking, that was fun, don't feel like I wasted my time. And with a few exceptions, forgetting most of them even exist. Hell, even with this one, I fully expected to be writing a review that basically read as, that was alright, and then never talking about it again. And yet, here I am, about to tell you that Infinity War absolutely blew my fucking nips off. Oh my god, like I totally get it now. This is an event movie. You know what I'm saying? This is where the strengths of the unique universe franchise format comes into play. Prior to this film, I always did kind of enjoy this whole joint narrative universe thing they had going for them, but to me it really only added the benefit of having a cool method of advertising upcoming movies in a way that an audience would actively seek out the marketing, by sort of making them be part of this kind of insider knowledge of stay after the credits if you want to be in on some super secret stuff. Hell, they even advertise these advertisements that way, suggesting that only true fans will be privy to completing the demanding task of waiting 10 minutes and unravel further the mystery. I see now though that it's more than that. With this movie, Marvel has shown that it can use this format to change the traditional narrative structure of the action blockbuster. This movie simply could not exist without being earned by 10 years of prior intricate setup of an entirely unique film delivery method, and that's crazy. Coming out of the movie, I felt like I'd seen something genuinely special. And that was the last takeaway I expected to have from this thing. It's far too early to say, of course, and I might be spouting pure hyperbole here, but I feel like this movie could be fundamentally significant in terms of what it managed to achieve. It's not perfect, but it's really, really, really good, and I honestly feel like this film may turn out to be a huge defining moment in pop culture history that changes the face of what the cinema blockbuster looks like. Sort of in the same way Empire Strikes Back cemented the huge fantasy spectacle, or how Wave 1 of the MCU created so many imitating universes, mostly to negative effect, or how The Dark Knight gave everyone in the industry a massive boner for the word dark and gritty for a while. You'll notice at this point I've mainly talked about my perceptions of the film and its possible future as a cultural cornerstone of popcorn cinema rather than the film itself, and that's because I am trying so hard to do this review without ruining anything, because I would hate for anybody to have this spoiled for them. But I suppose I do have to mention something about the film, so I'll just say this. It delivers. There was so much to worry about going into this thing. How would they handle the bloated cast size? Was Thanos just going to be another one of these villains that's just like, I want to conquer the universe because I'm a big purple twat and reasons and stuff? Was it going to run overly long? Was it going to be a step backward for the superhero movie genre that had started to seemingly evolve past the restraints of the label into more genre movies that happen to include superheroes but now seem to be advertising a return to the early days of focusing on big CG punch-ups? Well, it turns out there was nothing to be concerned about. The large amount of on-screen talent feels entirely justified, with every major player serving a significant purpose and no one feeling shoehorned in. The character dynamics and newly formed relationships between people who you wouldn't necessarily put together felt natural and often made for great development and humour. Thanos is a surprisingly well-realised villain that's thankfully less space Hitler and more like space Chinese population control laws. His motivations, while ethically questionable to say the least, are also grounded in a reality and logic where he can see himself as the self-sacrificial hero of his own story. A step up for me at least from his comic origins of, here, I proper fancy that Grim Reaper death like, so I'm gonna murder loads of people and then maybe she'll shag us. And all the while he presents the greatest threat the MCU has ever had. The stakes are high, the outcome's unpredictable and shocking, and the spectacle is on a scale more grand than ever before, but still finds time to sit and stew in the emotional moments, which are some of the finest the entire franchise has ever had, carried out with craftsmanship, nuance, and the technique of lingering in silence, rather than blasting us with emotional piano that tells us how to feel. This is a brave, risk-taking film that's going to leave a lasting impact on a huge majority of its audience, a lot of which won't have experienced anything like it before. How they have managed to execute execute such a miraculous feat of delivering substantial, meaningful payoff on 10 years of development in a movie with a key character count that goes well into double-digit figures, I will never know. But hats off to everyone involved. You've made me excited about the superhero movie again. And not the second wave genre-crossing shift that superhero movies have started to become, but rather the straightforward, action-packed superhero bash-em-up that I personally felt as a formula was kinda done after the first Avengers. By Christ, am I glad to be wrong, because fuck me, it feels good to be this excited again, especially about a genre that I felt at one point in its raw format had completely overstayed its welcome. I mean, you all know how much I complain about movies going overly long these days, but honestly, for me, this one earned it. Just see it. See it if you have to sell your grand to buy a ticket. It is, in my humble opinion, really, really, really great. Now that's the review over for those who haven't seen the film, so feel free to like, subscribe, hit the bell, follow me on Stardust and all that jazz, and leave the video now if you don't want spoilers. But for those of you who have seen it or don't mind spoilers, I'd like to briefly go into further analysis of what I think makes this movie so special, and how it's only possible to achieve what they did through this delivery format they've basically created. So again, if you don't want spoilers, you've been warned, exit out now because they're coming in 3, 2, 1. I watched Spider-Man die. I watched Spider-Man die, and I felt it. Now, I know they'll find some way to bring half of those that are gone back from the dead, probably with some time travel trickery. I know they've probably already greenlit like 70 Black Panthers and Spider-Mans and Guardians, but just for a moment, I watched Spider-Man die. And the more and more I think about that, the more special it is. This is something I literally never thought I'd ever see visually depicted in the context of a film. The ending to this movie is what I feel like we were promised as far back as when they conceived the MCU, or when they made Age of Ultron, or again with Civil War. It doesn't matter that he and many others are definitely coming back in the sequel, because right now they're gone. And we have to sit in that for like a year. I honestly believe this is the bravest, most risky franchise blockbuster I've ever seen. In a period of franchise movies like Jurassic World and Force Awakens, this stands out as the most unexpected subversion of the traditional Hollywood narrative in a major movie at this point in time, and it's only possible because of the universe format. This was the moment that I realized that this could become a valid storytelling tool and not just a marketing strategy. Because imagine for a second that Spider-Man was in his own disconnected franchise still. In that situation, you simply can't kill him, because then that's it. That's the end. Franchise is dead. Same goes if the Guardians were in their own isolated franchise. Can't end a film having all but the raccoon die. It's only because they're in this universe format that such a shocking ending is able to work, because it gives room for all these characters we're seeing on screen to have had major development in previous films, and allows the third act of the movie to be the second act of a story. The universe format, more than the trilogy, more than the quadrilogy, more than any continuing series of films before it, allows movies in the series to be structured like episodes in a TV show, and this act like a season finale. This film ends with what Blake Snyder, the screenplay writer who wrote the famous narrative structure book Save the Cat, would call the dark night of the soul. The hero's lowest moment and greatest failure, the incident before the building climax where the antagonist forces seem unstoppable and all hope is lost. This is never supposed to be the end of the film. Even in movies where a major hero or all protagonists die at the end, there's at least a Pyrrhic victory of some sort. The ending may be bleak, but ultimately the good guys do win, because that's how stories work. This is no new thing. What I've just described is as applicable to, say, Rogue One as it is to Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. This is especially true in Hollywood franchise movies, because if you kill your main cast in one of them, then you generally kill your franchise. So unless you kill the protagonist in the second act and immediately bring them back in the third, which doesn't give the deaths any consequences as you don't allow the audience time to stew in it, well, you ain't killing anybody. However, in this format, when Spider-Man and the Guardians and Black Panther are all major franchise carriers but are also part of this bigger, more ensemble cast in this TV series-like format, you can do unexpected shit like having the Dark Knight of the Soul moment be your ending in a way that's shocking, but also in a way that you leave significant characters behind that can still carry on the narrative and or undo their deaths in the next film while still making those deaths feel heavy and meaningful. And that's not even getting into how these ending deaths carry such significant weight in terms of narrative theme and character relationships. Cap's repeated philosophy in this film about not trading lives? Yeah, I think a moment like everybody dying might change his philosophy on that come Avengers 4. Thor saying he's got nothing left to lose? Are you sure about that? What about the fight? Because at the moment you just lost that too. And Tony wanting a kid with Pepper? Why do you think they made that a plot point? It's because you had what you wanted all along, Tony. And he just died in your arms. I mean, fuck. Hey guys, so as much as I want to finish the review on an exclamation of the word fuck because I'm actually 5 years old and I think that's a really fun thing to do, I do feel like I should mention you could be in my next video. So to explain once more, since I've only done briefly at the end of my last video, I am now on this app called Stardust and I recommend you guys get it. This is not sponsored, it's genuinely just something I think is cool. It's a newish app where people can post quick reactions and reviews on movies as well as do things as like make wish lists, give films star ratings, that kind of thing. I post on there pretty regularly and it's a good way for me to give you guys something to mull over between video uploads like this one, as I've been really busy lately and haven't had nearly enough time to do some of the videos I wanted. More importantly though, if you guys tag me in your reactions, then I will see them, and what I want to maybe do in the future to give some more discussion or give you the opportunity to ask me questions and thoughts on things, I actually want to start occasionally featuring your guys' thoughts in the reviews and maybe talk a little about some of the things that you say, and I think that'll be cool. So the next movie I'll probably cover, as I'm behind, will be one of 3 horror films that I've seen. It'll be either Truth or Dare, which was hilariously bad, or Ghost Stories, or A Quiet Place, which I both thought were very good. You may agree or disagree with those sentiments, you might want to ask me what I thought about a certain scene or something, and if that sounds like something that might interest you, grab the Stardust app, link in the description, follow me on there at GoesGGTV, and tag me in your thoughts on any one of those movies. I can't guarantee you'll get featured or even if I'll be able to do all of those reviews as I'm unfortunately crazy busy right now, but I'll definitely try and do at least one, and if one in particular generates a lot of discussion from you guys, I'll make sure that's the one that gets covered. I will mention there seems to be something weird going on where the app isn't actually available in the UK yet, but somehow I have it. I don't really know why it was on the Play Store when I got it, but it just was. So depending on what region you're in, you might not be able to grab it. But if you can get it, feel free to tag me as much as you like in things and follow me for some more offbeat movie recommendations and early reactions to stuff. That's kind of all I wanted to add, really. Fuck it, I don't know. What to say now? Like, subscribe, hit the bell, buy me chocolate buttons, you know, all that jazz. You guys have seen YouTube before. Do the YouTubes.